This time let's create a metric part, and so I'm going to start a new sketch on the XY plane, and I like to turn on the visibility of that origin so we can keep track of where it's at. And I'm going to do a 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to put it out in space this time like that. And then I want the midpoint of this line to be at the origin. So I like to look for symmetry in everything that I do. So if I can find something that I can use for symmetry about the origin, then I do it. I'm going to change this line to a center line. And now when I change that to a center line and I do dimension, if I dimension from that center line to another line, I can get the diametral dimension for that dimension. Now if I don't want the diametral dimension, I click on the point instead of the line itself. So I pick on the line, the center line, and whatever I want to dimension to, that gives me the diametral dimension. And so then I could put in whatever I want. And I'll hit R for revolve on the keyboard, or I could go to the revolve command, and we see that I can revolve that, and so that the center point is right in the middle of that origin center point, and so I keep track of where that's at. All right, well, let's delete that. You get the idea on that, and let's start a new sketch on that XY plane. And let's say I want to draw an ellipse. And so underneath the circle, I'm going to tell it to draw an ellipse. And I'm going to do an ellipse out here, something like this. Now when you dimension an ellipse, you can dimension the axis of the major, or the major axis, the radius of it, or you can dimension you'll dimension both of those to fully constrain the sketch. And what I do a lot of times is, before I even start, is I put in some construction lines here and dimension those, and then just snap to the construction lines to do my ellipse. But let's look at a couple of issues on this ellipse. If I do an offset of this ellipse, I can get two different results. If I offset, notice close to the top of it, I get that vertical axis. And if I come over here, or let's do it on this side, I get that horizontal axis. If I see that axis, either the horizontal or vertical, and I do the offset, I get a true ellipse. And I'm trying to exaggerate this so that we'll be able to see the results. So let's just go and offset. Now I'm going to offset again, but instead of near these axes, I'm going to offset over here where I don't see those axes, and I will come out here, and that does an equal distance offset. So notice the difference on that offset depending on whether we see that axis, which gives us a mathematical ellipse, or whether we don't see the axis, which gives us a uniform distance offset. Be careful with that when doing an ellipse. And also the other item that we did in review is, if I change one of these lines to a center line and then dimension, I can get the diametral dimension. Whoops, I accidentally undid what I did, so let's put it back. So we'll change that to the center line, and now I'll do my dimension, and we see that we get a diametral dimension to that center line.